The Los Angeles Rams are defending Super Bowl champions as soon as next season starts, because right now we're still Super Bowl champions and we're loving it. But they are going to be the team that is episode 1 of this series, season 2 of MOOF, where we are looking for the NFL most overly optimistic fan. We're going to interview one fan from every NFL team. Today we're talking about Los Angeles Rams. They lost some players, they gained some new players. We still have lots of talent. The NFC seems to have, had all talent run away to the AFC. Does that set up the Rams for an epic year next year? Find out on this episode of MOOF. And joining me today on this episode of MOOF episode 1 is none other than Rams House. Hello, Rams House. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this series. It was so fun to watch all last summer. And let's go watch these Rams win another Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And anyone watching live with us now, feel free, as we're going through each game, you can put a W or an L in the chat. We want to hear your predictions as well in the chat, and we'll try and shout you out throughout the episode. And whether you're watching live or on the replay, thank you for tuning in. We are going to go through the schedule, but before we do that, Rams House, what do you think Ram fans have to be optimistic about heading into this year? I mean, we lost out on Von Miller, Andrew Whitworth retiring, but we got Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson. Are you optimistic towards the Rams next season?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely optimistic about this Rams team. And I think if you're a Rams fan, I can't pinpoint one thing that you should be optimistic or excited about. I think as long as you have Sean McVay as your head coach, you have a good chance every single year. But I legitimately think that this team got better over the offseason. I know we lost some players, but we got better in some spots that we really were lacking or we didn't have that type of talent. And so I think for Rams fans, I just suggest to be optimistic and enjoy this time of being on the top of the mountain and having such high expectations every year, because the reality is some teams don't even have this feeling in your whole lifespan. So I think you just got to be optimistic about it, being a fan of a team that's so exciting, so flashy, so fun to watch, and again has expectations of Super Bowl or bust sometimes every year.
And as Matthew Stafford said, pressure is a privilege, and we saw the Rams rise to the those expectations and win the Super Bowl, and that was one of the greatest years to be a Rams fan. Absolutely. Well, let's get into it here. So we're going to go through this game by game and give your thoughts and give your prediction, and then we're going to see what are Rams fans predicting this season to be for the Rams. So first game of the year, we get to raise our banner in SoFi. It's a big game. Thursday night, the very first game to kick off the NFL season in prime time. We welcome the Buffalo Bills to SoFi. Win or lose, what's going to happen in this game?
Well, I say that we're going to come out with a win. I don't think Sean McVay has ever lost an opening game. I think he prepares really, really well for those opening games. In general, obviously, he prepares well for games, but I think he's just really good at that opening day one, and we've seen that in the past. This may be the hardest opponent we've opened up against in the Sean McVay era, I would argue. And they have a crazy roster. They could really go to the Super Bowl. I do think, just being a Rams fan, I think we're going to come out with a win, but I think it's going to be a close game. And I do think it's going to be high scoring despite us having a great defense and great pieces on there. I think it's just going to be a lot of offense in this game. It's going to come down to the wire, and I think Rams win it.
Okay. All right. Well, I do see, Ben is saying it's going to be an L and Willie saying it's going to be a win. So I will say, Ben is a Packers fan, so we acknowledge that.
Okay. What do you say?
I say a win. I think there's just too much hype for it. I think the Rams are going to pull. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think it's going to be a win. Yeah. So then week 2, we stay at home and we welcome in the Atlanta Falcons. What do you think? Win or loss?
I'm just gonna be honest here. I think this one's gonna be a win, and I think it's not going to be nearly as tough as week one. I think the Rams will probably have a pretty good lead by the third quarter, and we're gonna be able to just kind of play keep away from there. I think Rams get a win.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing some wins and a tie from Grandmaster chat.
Ooh,
Yeah, lots of people think it's gonna be a win. So we have the Rams at 2 wins here. All right. Then our first road game of the year, the Los Angeles Rams travel to division rival and take on the Arizona Cardinals. Win or lose?
it's interesting because around this time we got blown out by the Cardinals last year at
Right.
home, which was pretty embarrassing. But honestly, I think the streak of Sean McVay is going to continue. I think we're going to beat the Cardinals, and I mean we've seen it, the advantage of coaching with him. It's almost similar to Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. I think we just have an edge at that position, and I'd
Mhm.
argue our roster is just tougher than the Arizona Cardinals, and I don't think Hopkins will be playing in that game either. It's crazy because they have Marquise Brown now on the team, but uh, I don't know. I think that the Rams are gonna get a win and continue that streak.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So we have the Rams at 3 wins. I do see Ben is giving us an L there with Jarrett and Willie and Fizzy. Lots of people giving us a win there. But okay, so we're at 3 wins here. And then we continue our division road trip on Monday Night Football. We are taking on the
Ooh.
San Francisco 49ers, a rematch of the NFC Championship game. So we are first time seeing the Niners since that heartfelt game where the Rams were able to pull out the W. Well, win or lose.
Now this one's interesting because I definitely see them as way bigger threats. The biggest threat in the division, I see the 49ers as. It's interesting though because they have some question marks. Like at quarterback, they still have Garoppolo on their roster.
Mhm.
I'm not sure why that is. I've heard rumors about them not being confident in Trey Lance. We haven't seen him. This will be early in the season too, so it's not going to be like we've seen a lot of him and they haven't seen a lot of us. So it's really tough to say for this one, but I think we're going to pull it out. And it's going to be one of those games where we win like 20-17 or 14-17. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. But I think you're going to see additions like Bobby Wagner playing huge on this team. I've talked about it before. I think he will play a huge part for us on the defensive side against what they try to do because he improved our worst spot on our roster that Shanahan continually attacked. I think great at being sideline to sideline, like a good tackler and everything. I think we're going to be able to slow down that run game a little bit more, make them have to pass it a bit more. And really, we haven't seen a ton of Trey Lance. He hasn't seen a ton of the NFL. So I think we're going to have the edge there as far as with experience and player talent, but it's going to be a close one.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I like it. So we're starting the Rams off 4-0. And I am seeing a couple of L's in the chat. And a couple of wins there. And again, this is we remind people on this show all the time. If there's ever a time to be optimistic about your team, it's right now. Everyone is 0-0. But you're absolutely allowed to predict an L as well. And Ben is saying it's going to come down to a game-winning field goal. Okay, all right. Well,
I could see that.
but we're predicting 4-0 for the Rams. Then we return home to SoFi and we welcome in the Dallas Cowboys. Win or lose?
Honestly, for me, I think the Cowboys are a little overhyped every year. Like they can perform well in the regular season for sure,
Yep.
but I don't think their coaching is very strong. I think that they're just a little bit overhyped and a little bit like people think a lot of their players or their coaches are better than they are, which sure they're a good football team. They make it to the playoffs, but I think the Rams are going to pull out a win in this game. I probably see it being 28-17, something like that.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be a hard game, but I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I think it's going to be a little bit in the middle. I think we'll start to pull away a little bit late third quarter and then have the game from there.
Okay. All right. I love that the Rams are 5-0. Ram fans
Yep.
are going nuts. We're getting crazy. And then on week 6, we take on in SoFi still the Carolina Panthers. Win or lose? And I will say a lot of people in the chat think we're beating the Cowboys.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with them. Yeah, I don't think the Panthers are very competitive. I think we're gonna win this game. It's gonna be interesting seeing Johnny Hekker in a Panthers jersey like
Yeah.
that. That'll be a little bit weird.
Oh no,
Um,
Johnny Hekker revenge game.
ooh,
Oh,
he could pull off some fake punts, maybe win the game. We'll see.
maybe.
I don't know. So I've seen some people talking about this being a trap game, like if we do start off 5-0, then seeing us lose to the Panthers. But for me, just looking at the roster, looking at the coaching, I think we have the big advantage here. I think we're gonna pull out the win.
Yeah, I agree. And I see Ben saying it's a huge win.
Yep.
Willie Fizzy thinks it's gonna be a win. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So the Rams are 6-0. That's not six. That's six. 6-0. 6-0. And then now we are at the bye week, which means it's time for
Bye week hot takes. The hottest takes on the bye week.
Yes, that is correct. Whenever we get to a bye week on an episode of MOOF, we have a new segment called Bye Week Hot Takes, where we find hot takes about the team from various corners of the internet, Twitter, Reddit, random Facebook groups, and forums, and comment sections from NFL.com. And we find some hot takes to present, and we get to hear some opinions. But now, to caveat this, Rams House has not seen any of these takes, so we're going to see his reaction. Love to hear your reaction in the chat as well. So the first hot take is Von Miller leaving the Rams was a good thing because the money the Rams would have spent on him was used to sign Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner. Would you agree with that hot take?
It's a tough one actually. Like usually hot takes you can really like be like, oh that's wrong or oh that's right. For me, I think this one is a little bit more debatable, but I would argue again we got better in more places than if we would have just kept Von Miller. Like if we would have moved or if we would have kept him and then our linebacker core as it was, I think it would have been good. But again, we really upgraded in that area. And then when you talk about the wide receiver, Allen Robinson, I honestly think he's really, really underrated. And seeing what type of talent he is, the diversity he'll be able to bring to the offense that we haven't seen. We know Stafford loves to throw the ball up and trust his receiver, and that's what he's great at. And so, honestly, I would honestly like that, and I wouldn't have liked it if we signed Von Miller to what was it like $120 million over 6 years. I agree with this one. Either way, we would have been good, honestly, and that was a great pass rush, and I think Donald would have made it more clear that he was coming back. But yeah, I would agree with this one.
For sure. And I do see our resident Bills fan, Jake. So I'm sure he's happy that Von Miller went to the Bills. And yeah, we'll see him week one. We'll see him week one. All right. Hot take number 2 on bye week hot takes is the Rams need Odell Beckham Jr. to re-sign in order to make another Super Bowl run next season.
I don't agree with this one as much as I would love to see Odell back with the Rams, and I still think it's going to happen. If we don't re-sign him, I don't think he's going to be a make or break piece to this team. I mean, you look around the roster, and we have so much talent everywhere. We have Sean McVay. He's going to find ways to make this offense do amazing things. And yeah, I would say maybe if we only had Cooper Kupp and the rest was like Skoranek and Jefferson, like maybe we would need him a little bit more. But even if we did re-sign him, I don't think he would be playing until November or closer to the playoffs. So it's like, yeah, you would be able to get him, but you wouldn't be at full strength. You'd be getting him in later in the season, if not the playoffs. So at that point, it would have been too late if you were going by that narrative. So I think we're strong enough where we are without him.
For sure. Yeah. No. It's just funny because I do see a lot of Ram fans that are like, we need Odell. Like, I feel like that's all you see when you go on Twitter and you see Rams Twitter. And the final hot take for bye week hot takes about the Rams, and this one is a juicy one that I had to find deep in a Rams subreddit group to find this.
Ooh.
Aaron Donald will pass Robert Quinn this NFL season on the all-time sack list, despite Quinn still playing. Keep in mind, Aaron Donald currently ranks 63rd with 98 sacks, and Robert Quinn currently ranks 55th with 101 sacks. What do you think?
Honestly, Aaron Donald is such a great talent, and I could see that happening. It's crazy because you do lose Von Miller for that pass rush, so it's not going to be as easy for him. But I still think our pass rush is strong enough. Aaron Donald is good enough. So I'm going to buy in. I'm going to say Aaron Donald will pass him.
Okay, yeah, I could see it like it because Robert Quinn is still a great player even at the
Oh, yeah.
the later age of his career. He had a great season last year with the Bears, so I would love to see him do it. And obviously we want to see Aaron Donald climb as much as he can on that all-time sack list, but yeah, we will see. So this has been
Bye week hot takes. The hottest takes on the bye week.
And yes, back to the schedule prediction. So before bye week hot takes, we did have the Rams prediction of being 6-0. And I do see that Jake here coming in late, our resident Bills fan, he is wondering if the season will end how it begins with the Bills-Rams Super Bowl. I'm hoping, I would love to see that happen. I think it'd be a good Super Bowl, but we'll see. But on to the next week. So after the bye week, we stay at home. We're in SoFi, and we are taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Win or loss?
Okay, so as much as I want to see us sweep them, and I'm still pretty confident that we can do that, I think with the 49ers having more time to prepare for us, and if my prediction stands right where they lost to us, I think they're going to come in with a better game plan. They'll know how to play against us a little bit better with Bobby Wagner, too. They'll know how to counter him a little bit more and come up with a better strategy. It is kind of crazy. It's like we just played them and we're playing them again. I'm going to say just because it's hard to sweep a team in the division, I'm going to say they take the win here.
Okay, so that would be so. I do see some L's in the chat with a couple of wins. So the Rams, we are predicting on MOOF here, start off 6-1, and then they travel to Tampa Bay to take on old Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Win or lose?
I think that we're going to win this game too. I think it's crazy because earlier in the season when we played them last year, it was more of a blowout. Obviously, the playoffs, it was a blowout again until everything started to go downhill and it went down to the wire. But I think we've proven to be able to play this team really well. And we were almost like if everything didn't start to go wrong near the end of the game in the playoffs, we would have blown them out twice in the season. And so I think we've kind of shown a clear advantage. And we were lower, like our depth was being tested a lot near the end of the season, and we were doing really well. So I think we have their number and we can scheme against them really well. I really like our pass rush versus Tom Brady because he can't really move around a lot. And I see the Rams taking a win here.
Absolutely. Okay. Awesome. And anytime that the Rams take on the Buccaneers, I am confident. But I do see some wins in the chats, which I love to see. And Hoodie Jube, thank you very much for the super chat. That's very kind of you. He is predicting that the Rams will for sure beat the Bucs. Love it. Love it.
Let's go.
And then so after so we're off to a 7-1 start here. So we love that. And then we're returning home to SoFi, where for the second time of the year, we take on the division rival Arizona Cardinals.
Okay, yeah, I know I was just talking about not really like it being hard to sweep teams in a division, but I think with the Cardinals, again, we just match up really well. I think we'll be able to take this one. Think we can really like we saw we were able to dominate them in the playoffs at home. I think our home crowd's going to come in strong, and we learned not to take them lightly from last year earlier in the season. I think we're going to take a win from the Cardinals.
For sure, for sure. And then so we're at 8 wins, 1 loss right now, and then we travel to New Orleans to face the Saints. Win or lose?
This one's going to be fun because I don't think we've been to the Superdome since that playoff game. So
Yeah.
I know that atmosphere is going to be crazy because I'm sure they want revenge versus us. But I don't know. I don't see the Saints as being strong competitors, but I do think that they're going to be a little bit more of a sneaky team in this game. I do think it's going to be a little bit closer than people might expect. I think that defense is going to play really well versus us and keep it close. I think we win by a touchdown.
Okay. I do see a couple of L's in the chat. Hoodie thinks that the Saints want revenge. Willie thinks it's a win. And so we're here on MOOF. We're being optimistic, and so we're giving us the win. So we are 9-1 at this point in the season, and then the next game is a juicy one, a rematch of one of the greatest Rams games of all time. The Los Angeles Rams are traveling to Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, all of the Chiefs. Win or lose?
Okay, so this one's going to be an Arrowhead, right?
Yes.
It's not going to be okay. I think that is going to play a little bit more of a factor. But again, this is MOOF. I think we're going to take the win from them. I do think we have the stronger roster. I think coaching is very, very level. I guess very even as far as when you're comparing that. And I do think that not Travis Kelce. I think that Tyreek Hill loss is actually going to play bigger in what Chiefs fans may not expect because he did open things up. Like you would have to just respect him and play like 10 yards off, 20 yards off, make sure everybody had their eyes on him going downfield, and it opened up a lot of the underneath stuff. And I think without him being there, we're going to be able to focus in more on guys like Travis Kelce and on some of their other weapons that they have, and they're not going to be nearly as explosive versus us. We'll see what Raheem Morris ends up coming up with his scheme wise in that game. I don't see it being as high scoring as that Monday night game. I mean, that's definitely hard to top.
54-51 game.
Yeah, no, I don't see it being that high scoring. I think it's really hard to top that, but I think it's probably going to be around 31 Rams, 24 or 21 Chiefs.
Okay.
Again, I do think the Chiefs are also a team that's a little bit overhyped. Like they were a little up and down last year, a little inconsistent, especially at the start of the season. So losing some big weapons, we'll see what ends up happening, but I think we're going to take the win.
Awesome. Also, Rams are 10-1 after a huge win over the Chiefs. And just so you know, Hoodie Jew, Rams House is a great, fantastic Rams content creator, YouTuber. The link to his channel is in the description below. You should definitely subscribe to him for sure. I'm seeing some wins in the chat. I'm seeing some L's. But we're being optimistic. So the Rams are 10-1 to start the year. That's the Ram fans are going crazy. Mm-hmm. But interesting enough, we have played San Francisco twice. We have played Arizona twice. We have not played Seattle once yet at this point. And so week 13, we are in SoFi Stadium and we play the interesting team that is the Seattle Seahawks without Russell Wilson. Win or lose?
Definitely a loss. No, I'm kidding.
You had me for a second.
Yeah. We already played the Seahawks really well when Wilson was there. Like we had some close games, but I think we matched up really well even when Goff was on the Rams too. And so I just don't see Drew Lock or Geno Smith, whoever ends up starting, giving them much of a chance to win. I think Pete Carroll is still a little bit stuck in the past as far as like what he does with his offense. I think they're still gonna plan on being a very run heavy team. I think the Rams can play the run really, really well, especially with that addition of Bobby Wagner too in there. So I think the Rams are gonna win this pretty easily.
Okay, so we're at 11-1, and then we travel for a Thursday. Not travel. We are at home. It is a Thursday night game, and we welcome in the Las Vegas Raiders with Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, lots of weapons on that Raiders team. Thursday night game, short week, win or lose?
This one I think is going to be a really fun game, and I think Rams fans have to prepare. Maybe SoFi might be a little bit taken over by Raiders fans, or there's going to be a lot of them in attendance. So I think the atmosphere will be really, really fun. And I do think that this one is actually going to be high scoring. And I do think that it's going to be more of a shootout type of game. I think we're going to be coming out like you see the Raiders games. Sometimes they come out flat, like last year. You'd see them come out flat, and other times they'd be like competing score for score with teams. I think this year, especially with the addition of Devontae Adams on that team, I think they're going to be an even more dangerous offense. And then you have Waller, obviously, who's amazing, Renfro, and Josh Jacobs, who can run it well. I think we're going to be scoring back and forth in this game, and the Rams are going to squeak out a win.
Okay, all right, we're at 12 wins and 1 loss on the season. Love it. And then we do get a bit of a longer week, and we travel to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. Win or lose?
This one's really tough because every time I think we can play the Packers and get a win, and like we want revenge, like we see they seem to be able to play us really well. So this one's really hard for me to judge because I think the additions that we made are going to play big, and Adams leaving is going to be playing a big role. But it's really hard because with the amount of wins we've got, you got to expect it's like time for a loss if you're thinking of that logic. But I don't know. I feel like I could see the Rams eking this one out. I feel like I could see the Packers winning this game. I need more time to think. What do you think?
Well, again, the Packers didn't get better by losing Devontae Adams. However, they still do have Aaron Rodgers, who is a great quarterback. They do have Alexander, who's a great cornerback. They have some pieces on defense. They do, their wide receiving core is questionable, but
Yeah.
if their defense is able to keep it in a close game and give Rodgers the opportunity to pull it out at the end, you never know with those games. I am seeing some L's in the chats, a couple of wins. I personally, I'm being optimistic. I think Matt Stafford going into Lambeau and stealing the soul of the Packers will happen. But what do you think?
Okay, I'm on board with that optimism. I'm going to say we pull out the win. And in order to do that, I think we're just going to have to make sure not to turn over the football because Rodgers doesn't turn over the football. And I think the defense is going to actually be really good for the Packers this year. So as long as we don't turn over the football or make mistakes like that, I think we'll beat the Packers too.
Awesome.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, tough Monday night game. But that is 13 wins and 1 loss. And then we travel to, or no, we don't travel. We go back home. We are home on Christmas Day, and we are taking on the Russell Wilson-led Denver Broncos on Christmas Day at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, or not Pacific Time.
I think this one will be really fun, and it'll be fun to play. Like as soon as Wilson leaves the Seahawks, he's gonna have to play Donald again, that. I think it's gonna be really fun. I could see this one going either way because I think the Rams could beat them. And obviously we've played them pretty well recently, but they haven't had a team this good, especially with a great quarterback on their team. And it'll be interesting to see how their new head coach does. I'm going to give them a win close. I'm going to give the Broncos a win close in this game. And I think, I think that the Broncos are going to get the win. And it's mainly because, I think we can hold Wilson pretty well. And I think that we can do good versus Wilson. We've had experience versus him. But it's going to be tough to stop that offense and the playmakers they have. And I think the defense that they have is very underrated. It's very good. And I think the defense is going to force some mistakes. And they're going to be able to capitalize. And I think that they're going to come out with a win, the Broncos, that is.
Okay, so that's an L for the Rams. And so the Rams, we are predicting 13-2 right now. Hello, Old Man Ghost, and good to see you as well in the chat. And then we got Willie and Fizzy are predicting a win. And then so after that, that was the Rams' final home game of the year. The final 2 weeks, we are on the road. The first of that final road game in week 17, we are traveling to SoFi Stadium to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. So we'll really see which team has the most LA fans come out that game. But it is technically a road game. And on Sunday Night Football, Battle of LA, will the Rams rebound from a loss to the Broncos?
Yeah, I think that we're going to be able to rebound versus them. I do think that they have a talented roster. And both sides of the ball, they're very, very tough, especially after this offseason. But I do think, first of all, I think we've already won the battle for LA debate. Like, we won a Super Bowl, we've won more playoff games, Chargers haven't. And I think we got to know, we have more fans than them. I don't know. Sorry, Chargers fans, if you're in here, but I think we are the real LA team. And I do think we're going to pull out a win in this game. I also think this one's going to be a shootout. I think both offenses are really, really good. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the way Staley will play McVay, knowing like being in the same room and teaming up. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And yeah, I think the Rams are going to be able to pull it out, and I think both teams will be in the 30s this game.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to that game. All right. So that's a win for the Rams we're predicting. And so that brings us to 15-2 on the season. And final week of the season, we are going to Seattle to play whoever is playing quarterback at that time for the Seahawks. Maybe there's rumors that Pete Carroll might be fired at that point. Who knows? Depending on how Seattle's season goes. But final game of the year, win or lose against Seattle.
I think we're going to win in this game. I think it might be a little bit more ugly or not as pretty, because if you like realistically look at our record, I think we're going to most likely be the number 1 seed, especially with the NFC being a little bit weaker. And so I think we're going to be playing our backups a little bit more, playing the Seahawks. But I'm going to be confident that our backups are better than the Seahawks team starters. I think we get a win.
Okay, so that is a 15-2 record. I realize Willie's predicting 16-1. But yeah, 15-2 record prediction. And I think that's pretty optimistic, but that's what we like to be. The Rams have a lot of reasons to be optimistic. Everyone, I do try to keep these episodes a little bit shorter for those watching on the replay, but I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Tomorrow night, we are going to be doing MOOF episode 2 with a Chargers fan, and then we have many teams to follow after that. So you want to make sure that you tune in each and every episode. We're going for it. We're gonna try and get through all 32 teams. But let me know in the comments below, if you're watching on the replay, what you think the Rams record is. I see Jarrett here is predicting 15-2. All right, or he's saying we'll wait and see. Yeah, we'll see. Thank you everyone for tuning in at Rams House. Thank you, always a pleasure. Before we go, where can people find you?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on for sure. Definitely drop a like to Payo Times channel for sure. You can find me at Rams House on YouTube. I don't really do anything else as far as social media. Really, like YouTube is where you can find me the most. And so that is the YouTube channel. Talk about the Rams game breakdowns, all of the things revolving around them. That's where you can find me. I appreciate you having me on, Payo.
Absolutely. And stick around. We'll chat afterwards. And then the link to Rams House channel is in the description below. As always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams.